People, it's story time. Every Tuesday we do a story time. It depends on when I get it out here. But today's story time deals with a fascinating trip that a girl named Sally took this summer to the Blue Ray Caverns. She was really excited to go up there to look at all the splendor and beauty of seeing the Blue Ray Caverns. She saw it in books looking at the stalagmites and stalactites. Heard about the underground rivers and waterways and how it felt cool in there, especially on a hot summer day. Sometimes it was so cold in there when you went into the cave where these caverns were, where you had to actually wear a light sweater because it was a lot colder in there, even if it was near 100 degrees outside the cave. And in the wintertime, it would stay warm. So she read about it, and now the big day came. Parents all packed in the car and packed their family, packed their dog, packed all the kids, and packed a picnic lunch, and they all set forth to go up there towards around Charlottesville, where some of the caverns are in the Blue Ridge and also in the Piedmont region. So they went up there the Appalachian region, sorry. They went up there and they went up to the Appalachian Mountains, just a little bit beyond Charlottesville, Virginia. It's a little town that's about 45 minutes away from Richmond, actually 90 minutes away from Richmond. And some way I said 45 minutes, but it's really around 90 minutes away. So they went there, and there was a guided tour, and they went into the cave. They went into the entrance and walked down several steps, and of course they had lights on in there. And all of a sudden, they went in there, and it began to get colder in there. And that's normally what happens in caves. It gets colder. There's water. Hear the sound of water running, rushing water. And of course, while they were in there, there was other people in there too. Crowds of people were in there from all ages and all walks of life, even children that were with their grandparents and parents and so forth. And of course, as they were walking, the guide said, "Stop here." So they turned off the lights. And it was real dark and it was pitch black. Nobody could see anything in front of their face, because in a cave it is just like that unless you have some type of light source, like a fire or a lantern or a glow stick. You can't see anything in front of your face or see anyone around you, even though you can hear them. It's just that black in a cave because there's no light source at all in a cave. Once they turn off the lights that they put in there, and the lights they had in there weren't natural lights; they were electrical. They were wires running there, and they planted them in there and ran electricity in there and put off these big 500-watt lights that lit up the place and illuminated it. It made it feel kind of homey, and you could hear the water. And the kids wanted to know if they could go down and see the river. So, of course, Sally rushed down there with all the children and the parents in eager anticipation to see what was there. So once they got down there, they looked down into the river, and what they saw was these fish with big heads, and they had small bodies. They asked the guard why they like that. Well, it's just the way they grow in the earth, because they don't get enough food to eat in the earth, so they have to swim until they get out into the ocean, or get out into other holes in the ground to where there are springs to get into fresh water, so they can grow their rest of their bodies. And they just live down there in the earth until they can find their way out to the river. Or they just remain there, and they just have huge heads on their bodies, and they look kind of freaky to look because you see these heads, but the rest of the body was a lot smaller, like they were malnourished. But no, that's just the way that kind of fish it is. And the guard said, "Look at this thing that's hanging down. Have you ever seen one of these before?" And Sally quickly said, with an enthusiastic voice, said, "Yes, I've seen that when I read it in a book at school, and I saw it when my teacher showed it to us on a video." And so, therefore. They said, "Well, what is it?" She said, "It's a stalagmite." She said, "What?" And he said, "You know what that's from?" And she said, "Yes," enthusiastically, with great overjoy. And she said, "Yes, it's from where they grow out of the ground, and they're told, and people have been, and a lot of people are told not to touch them because if you touch them, then it can kind of stop them from growing because of the oils that are secreted through the pores of the hands. It actually can stop their growth." And can and of course, that's why a lot of places in the cave they tell the guard, or they tell the people in the cave not to touch those things, and they have signs up. And of course, it got colder and colder, and Sally brought a sweater just in case, because the parents packed and they were prepared for that. So everybody started putting their sweaters on as they got deeper in the ground. They're about almost a mile below the Earth's surface, and it was around near 90-some degrees, 98 degrees outside the cave, but it was about a cool 62 degrees in the cave. And one thing the guide said, not guard, but the guide said on the tour guide of the cave said that, did you know the temperature stays 62 degrees in here all year round? It could be 30 degrees below zero, but if you come in this cave, it will always stay at a constant 62. Sally and some other kids asked, well, why is that? Then the guide said, well, simply because the Earth regulates the temperature and always keeps it like that. So that the Earth, keeps it warm at that temperature because that's what it is in this cave. So if you were to live in a cave, you could live in there, but you'd have to live in there with a sleeping bag and have a sweater. So when you went to sleep, you didn't freeze to death. Because it feels pretty good when you come out from the surface where it's 90, almost near 100 degrees. But in there, it feels refreshing. And after a while, it gets too cold, especially for the girls, because they get more colder than guys do anyway. So they had a wonderful time, and they toured this cave, and they came back around and came back up. They saw a pretty waterfall that was down there deeper in the cave where the river was. And boy, that was exciting because they had different color lights, and it was really pretty. And though these were all electric, they weren't no natural rocks that glow, because they do have rocks that glow in the dark underground. But they actually have to be hit or powered with some kind of source, like a light has to hit them, like from outside, like there's a hole where sun comes in and hits them, and then they actually glow. And there are real rocks that do glow in the dark that are deep in the earth. And they are in there underground. Not all over, but in certain areas they are. And you can actually, these rocks really do glow. They're not man-made, they're natural in nature. And it's pretty neat, but they are underground. So anyway, that's the adventure of Sally's trip to the Blue Red Caverns. I hope you enjoy this short story, and I hope that you can help us. You can send money to us at donations, or you can buy some of our lovely products and support our business at 7110 New Hunter Road, apartment 423, Mechanicsville, Virginia, 23111. And of course, the phone number, if you want to call and make a donation, is 804-789-9373. That's once again 804-789-9373. Thanks, and I hope you enjoyed the short story. And I will have another story for you next Tuesday, sometime on Tuesday. Till then, see you next week. Bye for now. This is Michael from DeSilvis Media.